Welcome back students to Unix programming class. Today we will learn about the shell variables. Okay, the variables which are created on the shell. Shell variables are useful both in command line and also the shell script. Okay, on the command line means where we execute the command. Okay, that $prompt, in front of that $prompt we write the commands for execution, right? That is the command line. And also in the shell script. So we have studied that shell is also a programming language. Using that language you can write programs which are called as shell scripts. Okay. Using C language you write programs which are called as C programs, right? Similarly, using shell programming language, the programs what you write are called as the shell scripts. Okay. The examples of the shell variables are when you create on the command line count equal to 5. So now this count is a variable and that count is assigned the value 5. Okay, the count is created as soon as you give a variable name and you give some value to it, then that value will be assigned to that variable. Then if you would like to see the value of that variable, you can say echo $count. So whenever we need to see the value of a variable, we prefix the dollar symbol to it to get the value of that variable, right? We have seen $shell, $path, those are environment variables, right? Here these are shell variables, and to see the value of them also we have to prefix the shell dollar symbol. Echo $count will give you the display the value of the count variable. So then you can assign the value of one variable to another variable. See, for example, here the $count means the count variable's value will be assigned to another variable which is created just now called total. Okay, so now the value of count, what is the value of count is 5. Okay, that 5 is assigned to another variable called total. Okay. Then to view the value of total, you can say echo $total. Then that value of the total will be displayed, which is nothing but 5, right? When shell reads command line, it interprets any word preceded by dollar as a variable. Okay, so any word, like in the previous case we saw $total and $count. So when on the shell command line any word is prefixed with a dollar symbol, it identifies it as a variable. Then it replaces the word by its value. So dollar is prefixed for a variable to get its value, right? So on seeing that dollar prefixed to any variable name, the shell will replaces its value. $count means it will be replaced by 5 in the previous case. No white space on either side of equal to symbol. Okay, so when you say here count equal to 5, then that either side of the equal to symbol, that means before and after the equal symbol, you shouldn't leave any white space. White space means a space or a tab you shouldn't leave. And also the variable should begin with a letter. It shouldn't begin with any other character or digit. Can contain numerals and an underscore. So the letter can be followed by the letters or numerals, or underscore can also be present in the variable name. And it is case sensitive. Okay, so total in caps is not equal to total in small. Okay, total in caps is not equal to total in small, so it is case sensitive. Data type need not be mentioned. Did you observe that whenever we create a variable, in the previous case we said count equal to 5. We have not mentioned what data type the count belongs to, isn't it? In any other programming language, when we create variables, we have to mention the data type, whether it is an integer type or a float type or a character type, we have to mention, right? But here we have not mentioned. As soon as we create a variable, we need not have to give the data type of the variable. Okay. all shell variables are string type. So as soon as you create the variable, it will be of string type. Initialized to null string. So as soon as you create a variable, it will be initialized to a null string. As it is a string type, by default it can have a null string value like this, x equal to null. This is double quote, two double quotes, in between two double quotes nothing is there, that means it is null. Okay, here two single quotes, in between two single quotes nothing is there, that is null. Or simply you can say x equal to blank, that also means that the x is assigned with a null string. Okay, so you can assign like this the null string, but by default when you create a variable, it will be assigned with a null string. Later on when you give the values, it will be acting according to those values what it holds. A variable can be removed with unset. As soon as you create a variable, you can use it, you can access the value of that variable using dollar symbol, but to remove from the memory, you can use unset. So this was not available in any other programming languages, right? So unset, using unset keyword or unset command, you can remove the variable from the memory. When you say unset x, the variable x will be removed from the memory and you cannot use x anymore in the further cases. Protecting by making it read only means constant. You can make it constant. Constants cannot be modified, right? They will be constant throughout the program. That means read only. You can use that value, but you cannot change the value of that variable. Okay, so that will no more be a variable, it becomes a constant, right? So read only x, if you say, the x variable will become read only and you can only read the value, but you cannot modify the value, you cannot increment the value, or you cannot change the value of the variable x. Okay, so that is about the shell variables. Now let us create another variable called programs and assign some value to it, which is a string, which is enclosed in single quotes. String can be enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. So now whatever the value you are giving to programs is enclosed in single quotes here, and which is a path, /home/kumar/programs. What kind of a path it is? It is an absolute path because it is starting with a slash symbol, right? It is starting with a root, so it is a absolute path, right? So this path as a string will be assigned to this variable called programs. Okay, now that programs variable contains this path. When you say cd $programs, so what it will do, it will cd is for change directory, right? Cd means change directory. Our current directory will be changed to this variable's value. What is this variable's value? This path, right? This path. So programs, he is having /home/kumar/programs. So cd $programs, when you say, this value of this variable is accessed, and to that directory, our current directory will be changed. And when you say pwd, it will show you as /home/kumar/programs, okay, which is a changed directory. So whole path you can store in a variable and you can use it for changing or any other purpose for accessing the directory. Next we have another variable called my directory, mydir, which is a variable and the value of which will be the value of pwd. You can observe here this pwd is not in single quote. It is what kind of quote? Which we have studied in command substitution, back quotes, right? Which we have studied in command substitution, which is back quote. Back quote, when you use with any command, it will evaluate that command and the output of that command will be used in this place, right? So now pwd command will be evaluated and pwd will give you the present working directory, which will be stored in variable called my directory. And when you say echo $my directory, the value of my directory will be displayed, which is /home/kumar/programs, right? /home/kumar/programs, because we are currently in this directory, and that will be given by the pwd, which in turn will be stored in my dir, and when you display that value using echo command, that directory, your current directory, will be displayed. Next, let us create another variable called size, and again we are using backquote to evaluate a command. This is a command with a backquote. This command will be evaluated here, and the output of this command will be stored in the variable called size. So what is this command here? It is wc minus c, means word count and count only the characters. Okay, count only the characters, because we are using minus c, it will count only the characters of what? Of sample.txt, a file called sample.txt. And you can observe this less than symbol also here. So what is the less than symbol? It is standard input, right? So wc will not be knowing the source of its input. Sample.txt will give the contents to standard input, and from standard input wc will get its input. Okay, so wc will not be knowing the source from where the input is coming. Okay, so now the sample.txt contents will be counted. How many characters? Let us say there are around 50 characters in sample.txt, and it is counted by this wc minus c, and this 50 will be stored in this variable called size. Okay, that 50 will be stored in this variable called size. So now what is the value of a variable size? It is 50. Okay, likewise you can evaluate a command, and the output of that command you can use to store in a variable, and further you can utilize it for other operations. Let us take another example. Let us create a variable called base, and the value is stored as sample. In base the value stored is sample, and another variable. See, in a single line we can create multiple variables, right? Or you can execute multiple commands on a single command line by separating them with semicolons. That is what we are doing here, and also in this case and this case we have used it, right? So here base equal to sample and ext equal to .c. That means name of the file and extension of the file we are giving here. Okay. So base of the file is sample, extension is .c. So then if you say file equal to $base$ext, $base is sample, $ext is .c. So what it will create? It will create a file name called sample.c, right? Sample.c file name will be created, and which will be stored in a variable called file. Okay, value of base variable is sample, value of ext variable is .c. Both will be combined together in this case $base$ext, which will form a file name called sample.c, which will be stored into a variable called file. Okay, so now what file contains? File contains sample.c. If you say echo $file, it will display sample.c. Next, similarly, base same variable with value sample, and file is another variable which will be stored with the value $base$.c. So now .c is taken as a string. It is not a value of the variable. Okay, it is directly taken as a string .c, which is enclosed in single quotes. Okay, so this $base is sample, and .c is directly taken as a string. So what it will frame? It will frame sample.c, right? Sample.c, which will be stored in a variable called file. So this is another way of creating a file name using variables. Next, let us create another variable, another file name. So $base, as we know, it is sample, and another string 01 is concatenated with sample. So what will be the file name? By this, what file name it will create? It will create a file name called sample 01, right? Sample 01 it will create, and which will be stored in a file name called file, which you can use for further operations. Okay, so that is about the shell variables. So let us execute and check all these things. Let us create a variable called count. Count equal to 5. So this variable will be created, and to check the value of count, let us say echo $count. So value of count is accessed by, you have to leave a space because echo is a command and $count is an argument to echo, and to differentiate between the file name and the variable or the argument, you should have a separator in between. Okay, so now if you say echo $count, the value of count variable will be displayed. See, 5 is displayed, right? Similarly, you can assign that value of count to another variable called total. So you can say total equal to the value of count. That means $count. Now the value of count variable will be assigned to another variable called total. Now to display the value of the total variable, you can use echo $total, which will display the value of the variable total, which is again 5. Because count is 5, the value of count is assigned to total, so total will also become 5. Okay. So you observe that we are not mentioning the data type here, right? So now if you say unset, okay, if you say unset, means you are removing the variable from the memory. If I say unset total, that total will be removed from the memory, and if I try to display the value of total again, it will not be displayed because it is no more existing in the memory in the shell. Okay, shell doesn't have this variable. Okay, on the shell prompt, on the command prompt, we are creating directly some variables, hence they are called as shell variables. Okay. Okay, let us create another variable called scripts and assign a path to it equal to, within quotes, the path programs slash scripts, quote close. Okay, scripts, it may be a built-in variable, so let us change some other variable. Let us say scr equal to within quotes programs slash scripts, quote close. Now the path programs scripts is stored in scr. So let us display what is the value present in scr. Echo dollar $SCR. It is having program slash scripts, right? So now let us say cd. Okay, let us first check where we are. pwd, we are under home directory, and now if we say cd scr, so this is saying no such file or directory. Let me check. Okay, it is not supporting this. You can try in your laptops or systems. Let us create another variable, my directory equal to let me use the backquote to evaluate the command, and give the command pwd. So now the pwd command has to evaluate, and the value of which will be stored in my directory. So let us check whether it has stored the current directory into my directory by using the echo command, echo my directory. Yes, my directory is having the value of my current path, right? Okay, let us create another variable called size equal to let us use backquote for evaluating a command, and let us say wc minus c less than, this is for input redirection, taking the input from a file. Let us say f1, we have f1 file, right? So wc minus c f1. So now f1's value will be taken into standard input, and from standard input wc will obtain the data, and minus c means it will count the number of characters which are present in the f1 file. So now this is evaluated. Let us check whether the size is having the value which is the word count of the file f1. Yes, it is having. So let us check whether it is right or not. Let us say wcf1. Yes, 20 characters are there in f1, right, which is stored in size. Okay, likewise you can find the size of a file. Okay, so next let us say base equal to sample and create another variable called ext, which is equal to .c. Now they are been displayed, when they are assigned. Now if I, okay, we'll check that echo $base. Yes, it is assigned. Now we will combine both of the values of base and extension and store in a variable called file. So file equal to $base $ext. Okay, now let us check what is there in file. Echo $file. It is sample.c. We have combined the value of base and ext, which are two different variables. We have concatenated the values of base and ext and stored in another variable called file. Okay. Next let us say, so already we have base is sample, right? What is base value? Here we have stored, right? Base equal to sample. Let us check file equal to $base. File equal to $base, and within single quote you can say .c. Now the value of base and .c should be concatenated. Let us check the value of file. Yes, it is sample.c, right? It is sample.c. Similarly, you can use file equal to $base and a string 01. Let us check what is the value of file. It is sample01. Base value is sample and 01 string is concatenated with base value. Hence it is sample01. Okay. So likewise you can create the variables and you can assign their values, shell variables. Okay. Now let us see two special files available in Unix, which is /device null and /device tty. Both are present in device directory, which is a built-in directory and which is under the root. Right? Under root we have a built-in directory called device, under which you have null and tty files. Okay. Let us see what is their importance. See, again we are coming across two files. Okay, so please don't get confused. We have file types in Unix, which are ordinary or regular files, directory files, device files, link files, FIFO files, and standard files are standard input, standard output and standard error, and these are two special files available to perform some special operation, which is device null and device tty. So these two files, let us see about device null. So what it does, it simply accepts any stream without growing its size. So you might have seen, and you may be jealous of some people who eat so much but their weight, they will not put on their weight, isn't it? So you will be jealous of such people. So such kind of a file is /device null. It will accept everything. Okay, you can store anything in this, but the size of which will never grow. It will always be 0, isn't it? The size of which is always 0. Okay, so that is device null. It will accept anything you want to store within it, but the size will never grow. It will accept, but it will not store. Okay. It is used when need to check whether program runs successfully without seeing or saving its output. Okay, without seeing or saving its output. If you want to see the program runs or not, then you can store all its output and error messages, everything you can store in this file, and then you can run the program without any problems in between. Okay. So let us see an example. Compare we have seen, right? Earlier we have seen compare. It will compare two files. Here in this case test1 and test2. Both files will be compared, and wherever it gets a difference, that will be displayed. Right? So I just want to perform comparison, but I don't want to see its result. So what I will do, the result of this command I will redirect to /device null. The result will be stored, but the size of the null file, device null file, will never grow. Suppose if you say cat /device /null, that means to display the contents of device null, it will always be nothing, because it is not storing anything, but it will accept everything. Okay, so that is how the device null will be used. Similarly, the /tty is teletype. Okay, teletype, it represents the terminal. Okay, so it indicates one's terminal. Tty /device tty means device, means it will store all devices, right? In /device under the root, it will store all the devices, right? So tty means terminal. Terminal is also a device, hence it is under device directory. So this tty will store one's terminal. It is indicating one's terminal. Okay. This will be used to redirect some statements in shell script to this file. That means suppose in between the program is running, you want to display some intermediate results onto the terminal, then you can use this file. You can redirect the intermediate results or outputs to the screen. So then you can redirect that output to device TTY. Okay. So you can say ls redirected, the output of ls will be redirected to device TTY, means it will be displayed on the terminal. Anyway it will be displayed on the terminal, but in between the program execution, if intermediate results you want to display, then you can use this. Okay. Anyway it will display on the terminal itself, as the default device which is connected to standard output is display terminal, it will be displayed. So this device TTY and device null are not there in your syllabus, but we will be using them in our shell scripts. So you must know what it is. That's why I have discussed here. And let us check with device null. So let us say compare F1 and F2, and the output of which is redirected to a device called /device/null. Okay, now the output is not displayed, the comparison output is not displayed, it is redirected to device null. Then if you say cat/device/null, its size is 0. Okay, nothing it is storing, right? Its size is 0, nothing it is storing, hence the size of the device null will never grow. Anything you can redirect to it, but it will never grow. Okay. So device TTY usage we will see when we will be using them in our shell scripts. See here, when I display ls minus l, the long list of device null, it is telling you the first character you can see is C here. The first character in this string is C, right? Means it is indicating that it is a character device file, and the size of which you can see here it is simply 1. Okay, size of which is simply 1. So now if you use ls, which is redirected to, let us say, device null. Okay, output of ls is redirected to, let us redirect to device null. Then let us check what is the size. Still it is 1 only, it has not changed. It will accept everything, but it will not store anything, the size of which will never grow. Let us see some simple commands which are used in Unix, some interesting commands. Let us say clear, and let us type the command which is alias. Okay, aliasing you know, right? Giving some other name to something. Okay, some another alternative name to something, that is aliasing, right? So alias command is there to give some name to already existing thing. Let us give ll. Okay, ll is a name. See, ls minus l, what it will do, it will long list all the files and directories, right? So for that we will create a shortcut ll. Rather than typing ls minus l, you can simply say ll. Okay. So now within single back quote, because ls minus l, or single quote you can say, it is a string. So ls minus l. Now this ls minus l is assigned to ll. Now instead of ls minus l, see ls minus l, what it will display, it will give you the long list of all the files and directories in my current directory, right? So rather than writing ls minus l, I can simply write ll, which will also execute ls minus l only, isn't it? See, I have given here the command ll here. You can see ll, which is acting as ls minus l only. So aliased, I have aliased ls minus l command to ll. Isn't it fantastic? Similarly, any big command you can rename as a smaller one. A shortcut you can frame for a big command, right? And you can observe that ls minus l command will always give you in the beginning total size of all the files. Okay, total size of all the files. Similarly, you can say alias cp. Cp command is always used cp, but you have studied about a option with cp called -i, which will allow you to interactively copy. That means if a destination file is already existing, it will overwrite, right? But before overwriting, it has to give an alert to you that the file name is already existing. For that purpose, we will use the -i option. So you can by default say cp, you can set by default cp to cp -i. Whenever you execute cp, it should execute cp -i only. Okay, now when you execute cp, it will be cp -i itself. Okay, so one more interesting thing with alias is alias, I can set a path. Okay, before that I will check ls -r recursive listing of a directory called programs. Okay, so now this directory programs, what it has, directory programs have another subdirectory, some files f5, f50, f6, f9, and a directory called scripts. And that scripts directory in turn here has f1, f2 files which are executable files. You can see they are in green color, and another subdirectory called py, where I will store all my Python files, let us say. Okay, then under py we don't have anything. Okay, under py we don't have anything. So this is the structure. Under programs I have scripts, under scripts I have py. Okay, so let me create a shortcut for this path. I will say alias, cd py equal to the path, you can use single quote or double quote, cd programs slash scripts slash py. So whenever I have to type this big path, rather than typing this big command along with cd and path, I can simply say cd py. It will change my current directory to py directory. Okay, now I have aliased cd py. Okay, now let us check our current directory where we are. We are under home, right? Now I will say cd py. Now check pwd, where we are under program scripts py, right? So it is so fantastic, right? I have aliased this entire path or command along with cd command and path to a simple variable called cd py. Now when I execute cd py, it will change my current directory to py directory. Okay, so that is so wonderful, right? Is that clear to you? So that is how you can use the alias command. Let us use another interesting command called history. History is a command which will give you the history of all the previous commands which you have executed. Let us say history and argument is 4. So it will give me last 4 commands which I have executed, right? Along with history it is giving, right? Here it is giving me history. Above that I executed pwd, above that cdpy, above that again pwd. Okay, so likewise it will give me last 4 commands. So similarly you can use 8 also instead of 4, then last 8 commands list it is giving me. Okay, last 8 commands list it is giving me. And also you can observe beside these commands there are some numbers here, right? There are some numbers which will also be used for executing a particular command repeatedly. Okay, repeatedly you can use that command. Suppose let me execute pwd, which is here. Okay, this command I would like to execute, whose number is 551. So how will I execute? I will say exclamatory symbol for repeating that command again and the number of the command, which is 551. Exclamatory and the number of the command in the history. See, it will display that command. Okay, and also you can repeat the previous command. You can repeat the execution of the previous command just by executing double exclamatory. Okay, just by executing double exclamatory you can repeat the previous command. Previous command is pwd itself, right? So that is executed again. Okay, so this is how you can use the history command. Is that wonderful? Okay guys, that's all for today. Keep practicing the commands properly. Okay, practicing will make you perfect in this subject. You need not have to study the subject also. If you simply practice the commands, it will be sufficient. So keep practicing. It is a very simple and easy subject, but regular practicing is required because so many small things, small concepts you have to learn here and remember. So please keep practicing the commands which will be helpful for you to understand the subject clearly and remember it. Okay, because so many things you need to remember here, right? So keep practicing. Okay, that's all for today. Have a nice day. Bye bye.